is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
The Hidden Killers Podcast.
With Tony Bruschi.
As you've probably heard, one of the surviving roommates in the Bryan Kohberger case, Bethany Funke, is being subpoenaed to testify in the preliminary hearing against Bryan Kohberger coming up on the 28th of June. Allegedly, according to the PI that was hired by the defense, she may have some exculpatory evidence or information that is material and necessary for the alleged killer's defense. She, however, resides in Nevada now, and her lawyers are fighting this, saying there's no authority for an Idaho criminal defendant to summon a Nevada witness to an Idaho matter without a hearing, and there's no authority to summon a Nevada witness to an Idaho matter without a Nevada judge making a finding of materiality, necessity, and the lack of undue hardship. Let me ask you this. Is this something where it's appropriate that they're asking her to come and testify? We really don't know what kind of information she actually has. What's your thoughts on this whole debacle, I guess, this week as it's been playing out?
Well, I've had some difficulty thinking about this as well, because in some ways, even my own attorneys, when I get a subpoena and it's a case that I don't want to participate in, I'll tell my attorneys, let's fight this thing because I don't want to participate in it. So It's not like that's unheard of.
Sure.
But because I don't know, what evidence does she have that would be exculpatory? And I think in some ways, I understand that she could be re-traumatized if, confronting or being in the same room with Bryan Kohberger.
Yeah.
But if he actually isn't the person who did this, then that's gonna weigh as a guilt more than observing her friends die in the same house. Because it's one thing to be the survivor. It's another thing to know that the person on trial didn't do it. So I think until we know what exactly it is that she has, if she has anything, until we know what exactly it is, I don't know what the best move for her actually is.
Because there really hasn't been any actual evidence or anything out there in any of the reports stating what it is she's holding, other than that she had conversations with the police when questioned and has information. There had been some reports specifically from the UK, I believe it was The Sun, and it made me very confused, and I think some others as well, where there was published in their reporting that she had testimony or has said to police that she saw a naked man leaving through the patio doors. Number one, it doesn't make sense at all physically in how geographically the house is laid out, how that would even be possible. Nor have we ever heard that or seen that in any sort of documentation that has been out there. There is always, of course, a possibility that it is in some sealed documents that are not yet revealed. But I don't know. And until we know that, I don't know where that even came from. I suppose if there was something of that nature, I'm not saying that is true by any means, but something of that nature that could be very powerful in terms of looking at the possibility of there being someone else involved.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also a product of the time in which we live that we cannot trust any of the reporting that we get, because we don't know what's real and what isn't real.
Yeah.
And so it's again, if it's something that can absolutely, definitively say that it's not Bryan Kohberger, then I think it would weigh heavily on her emotionally if she doesn't actually come out and say what is real. That kind of guilt, that's a real sort of Edgar Allan Poe telltale heart kind of thing.
Completely. Is there ever a time, though, with something like this where you've had a witness that maybe they really don't have a whole lot to give, But the defense is going to, subpoena and beg and do everything they can to make them come testify. And at the end of the day, there really isn't a whole lot that's coming to the light or coming to the surface that really helps their defense. Is there ever a time where one can tell the court, look, this person is already too traumatized. They've been through so much. Making them testify it's cruel to them. It's too much of an impact on their well-being and their mental health to make that happen. And do courts ever honor something like that? Do those things ever happen?
I mean, sure. I mean, she could give a deposition. She could have testimony done in camera. So that means there's no jury there.
Yeah.
She'd be given, like a support, maybe animal or have like a counselor or a friend be with her while she gives testimony. So, I mean, but the other thing has to be is that if she has evidence and there's no other way to get the evidence in, then either side has to play the game of, okay, well, is this evidence, strong enough? And unfortunately, if there's a court order for her to provide testimony, there's not many ways around a court order. So
I guess
are the ways in which she can do it. But yeah,
I guess why would they not go to that route first? What is the difference between her giving a deposition where she's at in Nevada, going and sitting in a room, not in front of a court or judge or a jury or anything like that? Just I'll tell you, I'll answer your questions, but I'm not going to come all the way back to Idaho to do all this. Why would that not be sufficient enough for what they're asking for? Why let's drag her back up here and put her in the same room with Kohberger?
It's the weight of the testimony. I mean, if the person's there in the room in front of the jury, there's a certain emotional weight that's there that you're not going to get on a pre-recorded deposition or anything like that.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition
This is the Hidden Killers podcast.
with Tony Bruschi.
Dr. John Delatorre, thank you so much for your insight on this. Hey, if you like the podcast, press subscribe wherever you download them so you don't miss any breaking updates or discussions on the cases we're following for you right here. I'm Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.